Human trafficking may seem like an afterthought to most people. However, for Chattanoogans, it's hitting way closer to home. A recent report has shown that Hamilton County is at a severe risk for human trafficking, and only half of the county is aware of this federal crime. Something you drink every day probably contains a dangerous chemical, especially if you live in Georgia. Luckily, a college professor is using his expertise to eliminate these forever chemicals. A study shows that at least 45% of U.S. tap water contains PFAS. Many serious health issues have been linked to people who consume this water. If you're thinking about cracking a raw egg for breakfast, you may want to reconsider. As bird flu cases continue to rise in the United States, people need to remain vigilant. It all starts with a simple sneeze, cough, and other cold-like symptoms. Now the blistering rash has officially made its way to Tennessee.
Chattanooga was ranked fourth in the state for the highest amount of human trafficking as far as their vulnerability population index, with a score of 96.8%.
According to Engage Together Project Tennessee, the risk of human trafficking continues to grow in Hamilton County. The report also revealed that Chattanooga ranked number 4 in the top 10 list for human trafficking in Tennessee. Just last month, the TBI arrested 5 people in a human trafficking bust in Saudi Daisy who were searching various websites for victims. Sarah McKinnis, CEO and founder of Willow Bend Farms, a nonprofit dedicated to human trafficking survivors, says social media plays a big role in how traffickers are targeting victims nowadays.
And in this day and age, a lot of individuals, they're developing relationships that start online, even friendships. And with the average age of entry being 12 to 13 years old, and you see the predominance of individuals at that age, utilizing online platforms and apps and social media. There's where a lot of those introductions are taking place.
McKenna says demystifying what human trafficking means is the first step in noticing the signs that someone is being trafficked, especially when it comes to younger children. Human trafficking is defined as the exploitation of a person for the purposes of compelled labor or a commercial sex act using force, fraud, or harassment. McKinnis says there are a lot of myths around what human trafficking looks like.
And a trafficker can look like a mom at a high school. It can look like the gang individual. It can look like any normal individual. And so we've got to be very careful about those stereotypes of what we put on people, as well as the stereotypes on who is trafficked, because it's not always the females. It's males and females. It's young and old.
While homeless individuals are at a high risk of falling victim to human trafficking, children and people with a good home life can also be targeted.
If they can find the vulnerable point in anybody's life, that's what they're looking for. What is it that they want that they don't have? What is it they need that they don't have access to?
Tony Thomas with FBI Atlanta says another myth surrounding human trafficking is kidnapping. Instead, it usually starts with grooming.
Another myth is that these kids are being kidnapped off of, right off some car parked along 24 or something. This is not happening. This is much more of psychological than it is physical in the beginning.
Thomas says the main signs that trafficking is taking place include the victim withdrawing from activities and accumulating expensive gifts.
Somebody who is withdrawing from all their family, from all their friends. Another big one, especially if your relatives you're close to and stuff, if you have a teenager that all of a sudden pops up with a really nice purse or another really expensive gift, jewelry, or maybe a brand new iPhone or a second phone.
However, one of the most common misconceptions surrounding victims is that they want help.
Survival has become a mechanism that they know how to survive in and live in. And so actually seeking assistance or those that will support you is foreign. And having the opportunity to build trust with someone, it takes a lot of time.
If a victim feels threatened to report their situation, they should focus on finding a close friend, teacher, or even church member that they feel comfortable talking to, McKinnis says. They can also find a random person in public for help, Thomas suggests. To report human trafficking, call 911 or the Tennessee Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-855-558-6484. Victims of trafficking can also reach out to Willow Bend Farms at 423-250-5700 or text "Are You Awake?" to 423-250-5911. Reporting in Chattanooga, this is Grace James, Local 3 News. In the past 30 days alone, the CDC has confirmed that 18.91 million birds have been affected by the avian flu, also known as bird flu. Of the 68 confirmed cases among humans, one has resulted in death. A local doctor explains that while bird flu primarily affects birds, people need to take precautionary measures to avoid getting sick.
The thing that's interesting about what's going on right now is we're seeing crossover into other animal species. So the case in Louisiana, there was a lot of cow involvement, which is a new thing, and I think that's why we've seen a lot of news about it.
The CDC reports that it's rare for the bird flu to spread from human to human, with only 2 confirmed cases right now. Dr. Kaufman says it's better to be safe than sorry when it comes to the possible contamination by infected animals.
Just being smart about where you might potentially interface with sick animals and then contaminated products of those sick animals is the main concern for people right now.
It's also crucial for people who keep backyard chickens to stay aware. Dr. Kaufman added that people need to make sure they're cooking food properly and not feeding raw poultry, eggs, or beef to pets.
Your pets are acting strangely, tired, lethargic, not eating well. You want to make sure that you touch base with your vet because they could be sick with bird flu, especially if they like to go outside and they like to hunt animals. We can see that transmission.
While there are no reported cases of the bird flu in the Tennessee Valley, it is essential to remain vigilant as the virus continues to spread throughout the United States. For Local 3 News, this is Grace James. As of late March, 378 measles cases were confirmed in the U.S. So far, there's been 1 confirmed death, and there's still 1 death under investigation. Most cases are affecting unvaccinated children between 5 and 19 years old. The drastically rising number of cases is not uncommon, a doctor with the Georgia Department of Health says.
In the 90s, in 1990, we had 28,000 cases of measles here in the United States. And then in 2000, we declared it eliminated. But still, since 2000, we've had a few dozen cases off and on since that time.
According to the CDC, the virus has emerged in 18 states now. Dr. Bocchio says that the state's lower vaccination rates are very concerning and may play a role in the number of cases they're seeing. Several executive orders concerning immigration has caused many people in our area to be afraid to ask for help. Jeannie Carpenter, the Chief Communications Officer at the Chattanooga Area Food Bank, explains that fear plays a big role when it comes to asking for help.
So folks are hungry and they may be more hesitant to go to a place where there's a big distribution of food. Also, when folks are afraid, they may not be getting out the door to work or sending their kids to school or having the same access to food that they really need to be doing well and to be healthy and to be active in our community.
While we haven't seen any ice raids in the Chattanooga area, the possibility and fear instilled in people remains.